Introduction: shocking facts that will change your perspective. In today's video, we will reveal shocking facts about the war in Ukraine that will leave you speechless. The latest details on the ongoing conflict, hidden truths that the media doesn't always show, and a deep dive into the global consequences still unfolding. And now, on January 27, 2025, Ukraine stands at a historic crossroads. This conflict, which started with armed violence, has now escalated into a global political crisis, involving even the most powerful leaders. But how do these events truly affect the fate of millions of people? Recently, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made a public statement accusing world leaders of not doing enough to end the war. But how have Western powers responded to this? And why is Ukraine now at a tipping point, where key decisions will affect the whole world? The most shocking revelation, January 27, 2025, has uncovered not only military details but also truths that the media has tried to keep hidden. What's really happening in Ukraine? Why don't we know the full story? What role does the leader that everyone is talking about, both in Russia, Ukraine, and the US, play in all of this? World leaders, who's bigger, who's stronger, the world is watching as key figures determine the course of this war. Recently, a new and unexpected player has entered the scene, one who has been behind the scenes up until now. Who made the game-changing move that could alter the entire course of the war in Ukraine? Everyone knows Vladimir Putin, who continues his aggressive actions, but what about the news that Donald Trump has publicly stated his willingness to intervene in the conflict? What does this mean for Ukraine? Could his announcement, claiming that the US must take control of the situation, have a decisive impact? How does he plan to leverage his political power to bring an end to the war? Or is this just another political maneuver as elections approach? For Ukraine, this situation could be both a chance and a threat. We're seeing how world leaders are starting to argue over who cares more about Ukraine's future. But is it really about the people of Ukraine, or are there hidden agendas? Behind these leaders' words, what's the real motive? Scandalous details, who's hiding the truth? The war in Ukraine is becoming even more mysterious, and every day new, shocking details emerge. What's really being kept from the public? January 27, 2025, brought new revelations about how various countries, including the US and EU nations, are helping Ukraine in its fight against the aggressor. We know that the weapons being sent to Ukraine could have unexpected consequences for entire regions. Do we have the right to intervene in someone else's conflict? And what's hidden behind the so-called aid from NATO countries? It turns out that many of Ukraine's allies are hesitant to disclose exactly how much weaponry has been delivered and where it's going. How does this affect the final outcome of the war? How many lives are being lost due to covert operations that never make it to the media? On January 27, a sensational statement was made about how some of the military aid to Ukraine may have been concealed to prevent the public from knowing the real scale of global assistance. How will this affect public opinion, and what if the truth is revealed? The end of the war or a new phase? Now it's time to ask the most critical question: will the war in Ukraine end in the coming months? Or is it just entering a new, more dangerous phase? Recently, there have been increasing reports that the conflict is nearing its end, but can we believe that? Is the world truly ready for such a turn of events? Or is this just a false calm before the storm? Perhaps 2025 is the moment when Ukraine will be forced to make tough decisions that could impact the entire future of the nation and its people. In this video, we will explore how the latest events could affect Ukraine's future, as well as its relationships with neighboring countries and global powers. We have only a few months left to understand where we're all headed. Will the world be truly ready to intervene if the situation spirals out of control? How will this affect not just Ukraine, but the entire global balance of power? We will provide you with the latest data and analytical projections to help you form your own opinion. What's next? Predictions and consequences. How can we evaluate the future consequences of this war? With every new move, the situation grows more complex. Ukraine now stands at a crossroads, and every misstep could lead to unpredictable outcomes. World leaders continue to try to manipulate public opinion and control the situation, but what happens if no one is able to control the conflict? Our predictions: what's coming next? A peace agreement or a new wave of violence? Will new horizons open up for Ukraine and its people in 2025, or will we witness even worse events? This script mixes sensationalism, intrigue, and emotional charge, creating an engaging narrative that can hold the audience's attention. Breaking it into parts allows for a structured, easy-to-follow presentation, while the dramatic language and questions keep the viewers hooked.